Welcome everyone to our industry update. It's been a few weeks and we appreciate you joining us today. John Longstreet and Melissa Bova with us today to give you an update of what's been going on since we last talked. As always, we are recording this and we'll be sending it out and we'll post it out on our website. And please remember to mute your line and use the chat feature for all questions that you may have. They'll be addressed at the end. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to John.
Thank you, Hope. Welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Industry Update presented by PRLA and starring Melissa Bova. As a reminder, this webinar is designed for the use and intent of our hotels, restaurants, travel and tourism partners, and other friends of PRLA. It is off the record. It's not a press event. If you're with the press, kindly disconnect and reach out to us later, and we'd be happy to talk with you. And with that, I'm happy to introduce Melissa. Melissa.
Good morning, everyone. Yesterday, I made the mistake of telling the PRLA staff that I really just had like a federal and state update. And then Philadelphia decided to throw a grenade in all of that. So I have more to talk about than I thought. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about federal, because I know statewide, I think federal stuff is really where you all have the most interest. So we will get to RRF, which is the reason I think all of you have been on these webinars for the last 6 weeks or so. But I want to start with the bill that's happening right now, and that is the infrastructure bill. It is about $1 trillion. It is purely just for infrastructure. Now, I'm going to touch on RRF before I wanted to, but really the goal of this was just things having to do with that. There were no COVID relief provisions to this. It was very strictly infrastructure, and that was the only way that the Senate could get the votes needed to pass it. There are some good things in it. I mean, not the extraordinary items that I think we've gotten in the past, but also our industry is not as connected directly to roadways as you would think, or trains or planes or automobiles. But some things that are included in the bill that have passed the Senate, it's now currently before the House. There's the Drive Safe Act. This actually allows 18 to 21-year-olds to drive interstate commerce. And this is an attempt to address the lack of truckers, the lack of ability of people to drive trucks, and the inability for people to get the goods that you need to operate your business to you. So that's a provision. So it lowers and allows 18 to 21-year-olds to drive on interstate commerce. There's a provision regarding electrical vehicle charging that would have ensured charging stations to be placed at rest stop areas, which would have been put them all in rest stop areas on highways, which would have hurt those of you that might have invested in these charging locations at your business. Recycling is part of it. I know this is all super exciting. It includes $275 million for grants to municipalities to expand their recycling systems, and $75 million to educate consumers on how best to recycle. Yes, we still apparently need to educate people on how best to recycle. So those are some of the good things that are in the bill as the Senate passed it. The not so good, which is something that will impact all of you, is as part of the agreement to pass the bill was to end the employee retention tax credit early. It actually was only supposed to go for half of the year. They then extended the employee retention tax credit up to $7,000 an employee per quarter till the end of 21 in an effort to pass the infrastructure bill that will be ending a quarter early. So that will be ending at the end of September for the employee retention tax credit. So that was an opportunity for many of you to tap into those tax credits. That is expected to end early. That is included in the bill that has been passed to the House. So that is something to keep in mind. And if you have not utilized the ERTC, that makes me sad because it's free money. But at the end of the day, this is kind of where we are in terms of will it pass, because we're getting a lot of questions on this. The bill that was passed by the Senate had broad bipartisan support at the end of the day. It is now before the House. The House is stating, Speaker Pelosi is saying, we want to make changes. This isn't what we want. But at the end of the day, if the House makes changes, some changes that we want, such as extending ERTC again till the end of the year, if those changes are made, we lose votes in the Senate. So we're waiting to see what the House does, but it sounds like the president is going to be engaging in an effort to get this bill as it currently sits in the US House to pass and send it to the president to be signed. So it's either this goes with the things that are in it or nothing goes. And we're back to a lot of the gridlock that we ran into so much over the past few years. So that's where we are in terms of the infrastructure bill. Now, many of you have said to me, because I have the emails, the text messages, and the phone calls, why couldn't RRF be included in the bill, which I kind of touched upon. The only way they could get infrastructure done was to not go back down what we were lovingly referred to as the COVID rabbit hole. So essentially, while there is an effort to include RRF replenishment, if you open the door a crack for anything related to COVID, then everybody else tries to stick their foot in the door and get something for themselves. So we still have two pieces of legislation that would address our problem. You are all very familiar with the Restaurant Revitalization Replenishment Act. Those are new dollars, up to $60 million, that would dedicate new funds to the SBA to replenish the RRF. Great, that's what we need. We need new funds dedicated to that. For those of you that have reached out to your congressional delegation, which I know is every single one of you, if you had a Republican congressperson, they have said, we have done what we needed to do. COVID is over. We have a lot of states that are still pretending the Delta variant is just a joke, and they don't want to do anything as it relates to new appropriations connected to COVID, which is where the Entree Act came from, which is kind of the Republican version of the RRF replenishment. And this bill says there is billions of dollars from the American Rescue Plan money that hasn't been appropriated, that hasn't been tapped into. Let's take 60 million from unused funds and dedicate it to RRF replenishment. So it achieves the same goal. It also goes a step further, which is important to all of you, is that it directs the SBA to award the grants in the order they have been received. So it doesn't allow somebody who might have applied 3 weeks late to jump to the front of the line. So so it's the same thing as the RRF, but it basically says we will find new funds or unused funds to do that. So they both achieve the same goal at the end of the day. And quite frankly, we don't care how they get the 60 billion, as long as they get 60 billion to replenish the RRF. That's where we are. And if you have not reached out to your congressional congressperson or Senator Toomey or Senator Casey, please do so. I don't know how else to say that other than we need to get it out there. Last week, there was a move within the Congress in terms of a unanimous consent request. So essentially, a motion can be put before the Senate, unanimous request consent. So if everybody says, yes, this is a great idea, they will pass it. So there was a move basically saying to dedicate 48 billion back to RRF. Now you might say to me, Melissa, why are they asking for 48 billion when everything else is 60 billion? This is where it's going to be interesting going into the fall. SBA for existing applications that are there only needs 48 billion to fill those existing applications. So if you did not fill out an RRF request, if you did not fill out an application, you would not get any funding. The ship would have sailed for you. But they put forward the unanimous consent. It was essentially an opportunity to show that there is bipartisan support within Congress for this. If one senator opposes the unanimous consent motion, then it goes away, and one senator did oppose. But it really was just an effort to try and say, this is something that we need to address, which shows that our efforts, our communications are working. Will RRF get replenished? We believe, thanks to all of your efforts, that we have a solid chance coming back in the fall to get RRF replenished. If you've been reading your newspapers, you've seen that we've had a few op-eds that have been placed in the papers. We have another op-ed that will be placed out in Pittsburgh. This Sunday, we believe that it's going to be placed, so stay tuned for that. And we will be doing roundtable meetings and reaching out to our congressional delegation and placing articles as Congress gets ready to return to session in September. So PRLA is going to be laying the groundwork, but we need you to blitz. We need you to continue reaching out. We certainly know that those of you who received RRF, which is great, are at an advantage now to those who didn't. And now we have a very clear disparity between the two groups, and it needs to be addressed. So everybody who took the time to apply for the RRF needs to receive their RRF so we can continue to recover. So that's where we are. Congress will not be taking this up right now, but we really do need to keep the pressure on. So it's first thing they deal with when they return to session in September. Let's go to state. So this summer has gone by so quickly, and about a week and a half ago, poor Zach, our director of government affairs, got a call from me at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning and said, by the way, we should revamp all of our priorities and talking points and determine what we're going to focus on going into the fall. So we've internally kind of re-looked at where our priorities are. We still have a lot of undone COVID recovery priorities that need to be completed. But we also know we have about a year and a half of session left, and we need to focus on other priorities moving forward. So we have put together a document, which I'm thinking that somebody on this webinar can put in the chat. If not, I'll do it when we get to the end, when we're starting to take questions, that outlines our priorities going into the fall. Some of them are not new. House Bill 1154, our cocktails to go bill, outdoor seating bill, off-premise catering extension bill is all something that we want the Senate to take up and send to the governor immediately when they return in September. House Bill 427, licensee discount, increasing that licensee discount from 10 to 15%. Passed the House unanimously, the Senate should move it and send it to the governor, key in terms of recovery. Other recovery items. CHIRP, many of you received a CHIRP grant if you are lucky enough to be a restaurant or a hotel. So we are looking to replenish and add more funds to CHIRP while also expanding CHIRP. This is an attempt to also address some of the RRF issues. So we're looking to expand CHIRP to not only be restaurants and hotels, but to include our caterers, our event facilities, performing arts facilities, those that were not eligible, and allow them to access some of those grant funds that the initial 145 million was not allowed to go to them. So that's a priority. And liability protection continues to be something we're going to bang the drum about in terms of drive-by lawsuits as it pertains to COVID. Workforce assistance. The $300, I know everybody's saying the $300 is the problem as it pertains to workforce, and it's certainly contributing to it. That ends in less than a month. That ends in about 3 weeks. In about 3 weeks, I would love for all of you to go back to being 100% fully staffed. I'm not going to hold my breath for that to happen, and I don't think any of us are, but we're also looking internally about how we can help you and provide you some of the benefits that these large corporations are able to provide because they have thousands or hundreds of employees. So we are laying the groundwork to pass legislation that would create an association health plan. Many of you want to offer insurance, but one, you don't have enough employees for it, and two, you have employees that want it, but not enough to allow you to access insurance at an affordable cost. So association health plans, it's in 30 other states. You all know I'm not one to reinvent the wheel here, would allow you to bulk buy and be in the large market insurance program via a program PRLA can offer. So we can have all of our restaurants and event facilities and caterers and hotels bundled together and bulk buy and reduce the cost of insurance to allow it to be something that you can offer to your employees. So that's something that we're looking to add that is an employee benefit that many of you might not be able to offer at this point in time. And also, as you all know, we would not exist without tourism. Tourism is a driver for the entirety of our membership and our industry. So we are looking going into the fall to work on increasing tourism promotion funding, getting funds to our destination marketing organizations so they can market your counties, continue to drive funds and support to all of you to promote tourism, and also leveling the playing field as it pertains to online home sharing. So all of that is going to be in our packet of information. We are having roundtables around the state. We just had one last week in Erie. Thank you for all of you on this call who attended that. It was a great, vibrant discussion in Erie, and we're going to continue to have those meetings around the state. So please participate in those. If you're not able to participate, go through this packet and figure out what is important to you and let your legislators know. We are even though it feels like we're going backwards, because we kind of are as it pertains to COVID and this new variant, we need to stay front of mind with the legislators, because they will slowly think we're back to normal and our industry will be bundled with everybody else, which isn't a terrible thing, but we lose some of the momentum we have right now. So please take advantage of these talking points we're providing you and reach out to your state House member or state Senate member. Another item that we're doing, the letter will be in today's update, is, as you know, there's American Rescue Plan funds everywhere. Going out everywhere, and the state is slated to receive about $17 million to be used for tourism or recreation. So PRLA has sent a letter to the governor today requesting that those funds be dedicated to statewide tourism promotion. We know that if we bring people to Pennsylvania, they are going to spend money in your hotels, in your restaurants, in your attractions, and we need to bring more people to Pennsylvania to help our economy recover. And also bring in additional tax dollars moving forward. So that is a letter, will be in the update today. We just sent it off to the governor's office to request those funds be dedicated to statewide tourism promotion. And with that, I think we're going to get to the reason most of you in the Southeast jumped on the call today. There's a little something. It's the drinking game of the day, and it's the Delta variant. Has made our lives a little bit miserable. For 17 months, we have gone through a roller coaster of emotional ups and downs. I think we all thought that we were through it, but the Delta variant seems to have a different idea. So we're starting to see mitigation measures around the country. If you are not vaccinated, you are the problem. And PRLA's focus has and will continue to be on vaccinations. And I will ask John when I get to that last bullet to speak to a little bit about what we're doing to encourage vaccinations. But if we do not get vaccinated, we are looking at mitigation. The state is not expected to make any announcements. The governor has made it clear that the focus needs to be on vaccines. PRLA agrees with the governor on that front, that we need to be focusing on vaccinations, not mitigation. So we do not expect any announcement for a statewide mitigation measure. That isn't accompanied by the fact that, one, we are, I believe, the 8th or 9th most vaccinated state, and our case counts, while they are increasing, are still manageable. To that end, there's also, well, as we all know, the emergency declaration in Pennsylvania. The legislature ended it. So there are questions of what could the governor do if he wanted to mitigate again legally. So as of right now, as of 11/19, today, Wednesday, August 11th, we are not expecting any mitigation announcements from the governor. He is avoiding that. He's making the decision that we need to focus on vaccinations, and PRLA supports that approach. Philadelphia, on Monday, when we reached out, said, no, we're just going to make sure that our employees are vaccinated. That's all we're going to focus on. That's, what we're going to do. And 24 hours later, they said, haha, just kidding. So about 50 minutes ago, Philadelphia has announced a masking mandate or vaccine mandate. You can pick one or the other, effective at midnight tonight. So if you are a business within the city of Philadelphia, it doesn't matter what kind of business, any business that is allowing people indoors, you either need to require universal masking for your employees and your guests, whether they are vaccinated or not, or you need to require universal vaccination. So all of your employees have to be vaccinated, and any guests that come inside must also be vaccinated. The assumption is that most people are going to go with universal masking, especially because it's effective at midnight. But this does lead us to a place where for so long we've been saying if you're vaccinated, you can go back to normal. And now Philadelphia is saying that you either, if you're vaccinated, you need to wear a mask, or a business has to require one or the other. So this is just came out of Philadelphia. If you were to say, Melissa, how are they enforcing this? And I'd say, heck if I know. And if they would say, Melissa, what are the penalties if we don't comply? And I would say, heck if I know. But this is something that when Philadelphia figures it out, they will be enforcing. This is universal. This is not just a restaurant issue. This is restaurants, gyms, grocery stores, retail stores, anything where you come inside. The business will need to decide to either require everybody to wear masks once again, or require everybody to be fully vaccinated. Next steps. PRLA, as I said, our focus, as you all know, has been on vaccines. We are not going to make COVID go away, but vaccines allow us to return to normal. And that's where we feel the focus needs to be at the state and the local level. And that will be PRLA's focus moving forward. We are working on an internal strategy to promote vaccines. John, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what we're working on or any response we have regarding the announcement today, but I'll turn it over to you to maybe provide a better overview of our proactive approach.
Sure, Melissa. Thank you very much. And by the way, I do have to drop off right after I make these comments because I've got to get somewhere for the next meeting. But we're devoting social media to this. We're going to be devoting some video to this, very similar to what we're doing with the Level Up campaign to try to get workers. And we're continuing to, in addition to putting our own resources behind promoting vaccinations, getting some additional resources. We talked this morning with a group about getting some additional grant money so we can take it throughout the state. We have a good model in Philadelphia that Ben Felicia with PRLA has been heading up along with Hope Sterner and getting vaccinations to hospitality workers. We've had a tremendous impact where we've taken the clinics thus far, and we're going to keep spreading them throughout the state. We think that this is the best way to help people at large, and especially to help our industry. So that's not a lot more detail, Melissa, but there's a little bit more. And thank you, Melissa, for the update today. Very well done and timely. And I know you still have more to say too. So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
What else could I possibly say after this exciting news? I mean, I will say, because I think this is my last slide. I mean, please stay tuned. I know we all have, to a certain extent, we're all exhausted. For those of you that are unfortunate enough to be Facebook friends with me, you felt my exhaustion with a Facebook post last night. But really, just hang in there. We are going to continue to bang the drum on this. We are going to ensure that we do not go backwards. We need to move forward from this. You need to operate your businesses. We need to go back to normal, and we need to focus on the important issues like staffing and getting you all through the rest of the recovery that's needed. So, like I said, our case counts are controllable. The state is not looking to do anything. But for my local counties where you might have had mitigation measures before, please stay tuned as we work through that. But we really are being proactive on this and hope to ensure that governments are working with us and focusing with us on vaccines instead of punishing those who got vaccinated and did the right thing. And with that, I think I can ship it over to Hope or somebody else.
You can chip it over to me. So we do have some
background, Hope.
I know. I just want to go back to the beach. So we do have some upcoming events, some golf outings to put onto your calendar. We will be in Lancaster next Monday for our first golf outing, and then we will be having a statewide one in the western part of the state. Brandywine does have one on the 5th of October, and we'll be in Central at Hershey Country Club on the 18th of October. Lots of meetings going on. Please mark your calendars. You can register straight off of our website, and you can keep abreast of what's coming up on that on our website under the calendar of events. Next. Okay. And we will be hosting a webinar next week for the time that we normally would be doing this update with Focus HRO. They are going to be talking about their HR services and how they can help you with that. And also just talking about a variety of other things that they have that they can offer and help you through any HR strategies that you need. Melissa will be back for her update the following week. And it's already going on right now, the PRLA SBA webinar, but there is another webinar going on at 1 p.m. today. The NRA and SBA will be talking about the new options under EIDL program. It'll cover the changes that have happened. And then next week, Heartland and NRA will be having a webinar to discuss hiring and discussing technologies, tax credits, and tips for successful hiring. The next website. And then we will be having our annual meeting coming up in November. So please look to your staff and look at the awards and, go out there and fill out the application and give some people some props for things they've done over the past year. So we are having this on the 8th and 9th of November out in Pittsburgh. You'll be getting more information soon. Our Level Up campaign is going on, and we're always looking for additional communications from your staff that we can use for social posts And then our individual family plans, the health plans are going on. We have sent information out 2 days ago about our benefits. If you have more questions on this, Christine Bruce can help you out with that. We do have a page on our website about vaccination clinics, and we'll be updating that on the regular of what we're doing across the state. Right now, they do have Philadelphia clinics on there, but we will be having some more clinics throughout the state. Training solutions. We did put this in our update last week, and something to please remember, the Department of Agriculture did reach out to us, and they will be enforcing having a person certified on staff accessible at all times. So please make sure your staff is up to date with their ServSafe or with their food certification certs. And if not, we do have classes going on the regular throughout the state, and you can check that out on our calendar of events. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Melissa. It doesn't look actually like you have a lot of things here.
Don't jinx it, Hope. They still have time. We do have one question, and it is a good question. And like I said, as you all know, we've been doing this for a long time. Philadelphia tends to put out a decision, and then it takes them a while to figure out what they mean. But Sue has a good question for private events. If we must choose vaccine policy or masking policy, must that stand across the board, or can it be applied per each individual event? Our understanding is that it can be applied per each individual event. So it's essentially not, you're not going to have to self-certify saying, I've decided that for Melissa's Bar and Grill, I'm going to require vaccines or I'm going to require masking. They're not putting you in one box or the other, but it is entirely one or the other per event. So if you are a catering business, you will want to talk to whoever you're hosting the event for and see which they want to do. Do they want to have everybody be vaccinated or everybody be masked? This does apply to your employees though as well. So if you have employees and some of them are not vaccinated, you need to go with a masking policy. There is not any exemptions or exceptions to this. So that's really where we are. We still have a lot of questions of, if somebody has health issues or can't get vaccinated, or for children that aren't vaccinated, is that an exemption? I think those are all questions that we're looking to get answers to, but generally in theory, you're going to need to pick one or the other, but you're not boxed into that event to event or day to day. I know you mentioned the state is focused on vaccines, but do you believe Philadelphia's move will push the governor at all to act? I don't, and quite honestly, this is only because more than once Philadelphia has made an announcement, and sometimes the governor's office finds out after the fact or about the same time that we do. So I don't think it's going to drive the governor to do anything, especially considering the makeup of the state of Pennsylvania. We have a lot of conservative rural areas. So for the governor to take something that Philadelphia does and apply it across the state, I think he's asking for trouble from the legislature and a lot of pushback. So I don't feel that, I don't see that. Obviously, if anything happens, we'll let you know, but the governor has been pretty clear and strong. This team has been pretty clear and strong that the focus needs to be on vaccines. We need to support them in getting people vaccinated and let that solve the spread of the virus. Philadelphia, they also mentioned something about outdoor events of more than 1,000 people. That provision is if there is an outdoor event of more of 1,000 people where people are standing, then masks have to be worn no matter what. So, and honestly, if you have an event with more than 1,000 people, I give you a lot of credit if you're going to vaccine check everybody. But if it's a standing outdoor event, masks have to be worn by everybody. So there is no universal vaccine mandate there. Any other questions? And like I said, as we get more information on Philadelphia, we will let you all know. And any questions you have, please shoot them over to Ben or I so we can get you those answers. We know we're going to have a lot of questions, but that's the gist of where we are. In Philadelphia, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. Basically said, this is just what we're doing right now. It could get better or worse later. So we really have to do everything we can to get vaccinated and lower the case counts. And with all of that, I talked really fast. I got us done in about 30 minutes.
Thank you, Melissa. That was a great update, and thank you everybody for joining us today. As always, this is recorded. We will send it out, but we are here in the office and here, on our phones and emails. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. And with that, everybody have a great day.
Hang in there. See you in 2 weeks.